Hello, this is Jess with Her Mood Mentor, and today I'm chatting with one of my Integrative Menstrual Health Coaching clients and PMDD Rehab students, Wendy, and she's going to be sharing her PMDD story with us today and a little bit about her symptom transformation going through the program. Hi, Wendy.
Hi.
So excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you.
So I think maybe let's just start with hearing your experience living with premenstrual dysphoric disorder, how long it was going on, what was it like for you to go through that cycle?
Yeah, I have been living with symptoms since I started menstruating in middle school. It went all through high school. My biggest symptoms were kind of that mood related, so depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation. Throughout high school, my mom frequently brought me to the doctor, tried to get me diagnosed as bipolar. I'm not bipolar, it didn't fit. And I just kind of went around thinking this is just who I am and this is just what I'm going to live with. It took many years until probably like right after I graduated from college where I actually started looking at symptoms and seeing the cycle and seeing how it was about 2 weeks before my period where I would have these large suicidal ideation kind of episodes, and those would last for about 2 days and be pretty severe. So I went to my doctor. He was like, "Oh, you have PMDD. We'll just put you on the pill and your antidepressants, and you'll be good to go." Um, and that worked for a little bit. And then it started not working. So I went back to the doctor. He gave me an additional antidepressant to take cyclically. And that again worked for a little bit, and then it kind of stopped. I went back, and he said this is over like a period of years, but I went back and he's like, "Oh, we'll just double your medication." And that's when I said I want to look at other solutions. I started researching supplements on my own. I started researching just kind of what kind of literature there was out there, but it was very overwhelming for me. I did start a few supplements on my own. And then about a year after that, I discovered you on Instagram and kind of jumped in because I just didn't want to be experiencing that all the time. And I didn't want to just keep doubling my medication because I didn't feel like that was a very sustainable option. Um, and yeah, I wanted to know more, get better educated, and just kind of understand what was happening in my body and what I could do to prevent or reduce the symptoms that I was having.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you kind of hit a wall with the allopathic route of just more, double.
Yeah,
I, I know
I
that
can't
place
keep
well.
doubling forever.
Yeah, the path ends. And so you were asking, what are my other options? I'm curious, you were experiencing these symptoms for so long and severe. You're talking about suicidal ideation for days on end. What impact did this have on your quality of life? Like, how did this really play out in a day to day? I imagine it was very challenging. You know,
Yeah, it affected relationships with my friends. I lost friends in high school and college. I struggled with relationships with my parents and my siblings. Um, being told that you're bipolar or being taken to the doctor every week is not fun for a teenager. And I kind of had resentment towards my mom for that, even though she was trying to help. Um, as far as like outside of those things, like it affects my work. I would get into a job and then like once a month I've had these episodes. I want to quit my job. I'm not happy. I'm, feeling like I'm miserable. I can't pinpoint why I was feeling miserable. So it was like, is it the job? Is it, this thing that I do every day that's, I don't want to live anymore because of my job? Is it because of where I live? Is it because of who I'm interacting with? So just not having the knowledge to like sync those two things together of understanding that it was a cyclical process and it was based on my period. Because I always, you're told PMS is like a couple days before your period, and like you get moody and you get cramps. And I didn't have that a couple days before my period. It's, 2 weeks before, and it's suicidal ideation, it's depression, it's anxiety. It's not just being moody a couple days before. But it was like distance enough that I didn't connect the two.
Mm, I love that distinction that you're making, and it's so important because so many of us live with that experience where we're just like, what is wrong with us? Like something is really wrong with us because we're not fitting into the framework of a bipolar diagnosis, which is the most common misdiagnosis for PMDD, or we're not falling into, the PMS syndrome experience. And so it's just like, well, I guess we're just broken, and that's
Yeah,
that. And that's,
I definitely felt broken
mm,
many, many nights. I just thought I was broken.
mm, hmm. Yeah. So what was it like when you learned about PMDD? I'm so impressed that a physician brought that to your attention because that not isn't often the story for a lot of people. But what was that experience like, learning that there maybe was something else going on?
It was really eye-opening to learn about it. I think when I got the diagnosis of PMDD, it's not like an official diagnosis where you like get diagnosed, you have treatment, there's a plan, there's like, that's not what it is. My doctor was like, "Oh, you have this. It's new." Because he was like, the official diagnosis, he said, had only been around since 2013, I think. And I was diagnosed in 2017. And my like immediate kind of thoughts were, oh, if I had been diagnosed with PMDD in high school when the official diagnosis wasn't around, it would have made life so much easier because I would have known what was happening to my body.
Mm, yeah. And even though the treatment route hasn't changed, getting a correct diagnosis changes the way that you view yourself and how you're kind of integrating what you're experiencing to your self-esteem and self-worth, rather than that broken, I don't know what's happening kind of angle that you're falling
Yeah.
into.
Mhm.
Oh, well, thanks for sharing that with us, Wendy. I know it's hard to talk about living through those challenges and not really having a direction, but once you were piecing the puzzle together, you decided, hey, this allopathic route isn't really getting me the results that I'm looking for. Can you tell us a little bit about, what it was like to go through PMDD rehab and integrative menstrual health coaching, and how that was different from the approaches that you tried before?
Yeah. Kind of prior to PMDD rehab and in that kind of in between time where I was like, I don't want to double my medication. I want to look at other things. It was a lot of me researching, emailing my doctor, him saying, I don't know, give it a try. Um, so I still wasn't getting answers or responses. It was all on me. And then I felt very overwhelmed. So when I came to PMDD rehab and the integrative menstrual health coaching, I was very much at a place of like, I am overwhelmed. I want to stop feeling this way. And I need someone to like help me understand what all this is. There's information out there. I don't have the like motivation to do it all myself. So I was really thankful that I could come, and I chose to do the coaching as well as the PMDD rehab because I wanted someone to guide me through it. I wanted someone to bounce ideas off of. I wanted someone that I could say, "Oh, I tried this. This happened," um, and then get actual kind of ideas or you know things to change or try, as opposed to just my doctor being like, I have no idea, why don't you try it. I wanted a little bit more information, a little bit more hands-on, a little bit more just guidance and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be so overwhelming to just trying to figure everything out on your own with no direction. And there's so much contradictory evidence out there, and there's very little tailored specifically to PMDD. There are not many resources and not many people who are working in the field who have gone through the whole same experience of misdiagnosis and undiagnosis for so long. And so I can understand this is the way I need to go because I need support. Support is so much of it. That's why we go to physicians. That's why we go to all the practitioners. And unfortunately, there just aren't many who are specializing in this condition. So what happened as you went through coaching? How did that impact your symptoms, and did it change anything for you?
Yeah, the coaching helped so much. You really guided me through the process. The PMDD Rehab was great and educational, and I absorbed a lot of it, but I wanted that tangible kind of relationship, that person to bounce ideas off of. So the coaching really helped me. It also helped me to stay on track, to set goals and actually follow through with them. And it helped me understand that like small changes make a huge difference. Because when you do all of the research or do PMDD rehab, it's a lot of stuff that you're like, oh, I have to reinvent my entire life to feel better. And you helped me to understand that that is not true. You can do that. That might help even more, but you don't have to feel better. You don't have to change everything to see results.
Mhm. Such good news, Wendy. That would be too much to be like, okay, now I'm dealing with these severe symptoms. Now I have to change my entire life. Yeah, we really hone in through coaching. We're able to target an area. I'm able to really help you see what's playing out in each of those 7 core areas, and we can move towards one of them, which helps remove the overwhelm and still helps you get results. So as far as symptom, the whole point in doing this work together that we did is to reduce symptoms in their severity, so how intense they are, but also reduce symptoms in the duration, so how long you're experiencing symptoms. So can you tell us, like, we do all this data collection and we're monitoring things as we go. What did we see play out with your symptom presentation throughout that 14-week period?
Yeah, throughout the 14-week period, I was tracking my cycles, my symptom mapping. I chose irritability, depression, brain fog, suicidal ideation. I think there's one more that I can't remember. But I chose those as areas that I really wanted to see, how severe the symptom was, when it was showing up. Um, and like I said, I started this process and I was experiencing suicidal ideation, severe depression, anxiety, like for a 24 to 48 hour period, kind of right after ovulation. And I wanted it to stop, and that's why I came to you. And through kind of cycle tracking and symptom mapping and all of that, I discovered that it's kind of around day 14, 15 where I experienced these symptoms. I went from having, 24 to 48 hours of severe symptoms to having just like mild to moderate symptoms for a couple of days. I've been doing the tracking for 6 months now, and I have noticed that I don't have any suicidal ideation, at least not something that I'm like that needs to be tracked. If it is coming up, it's a moment, a one-time thought, a couple seconds, and then I can move on with my day. It's not overwhelming me to the point where I can't function. I just have to curl up in a ball and cry and, not be able to go on with my day. It's just a slight little hiccup, and then I can move on. So I actually don't track that anymore because it's not coming up. I track it under depression, because I still have some mild depression. But if there is that little hiccup, then I rate the depression severity a little bit higher for that day. But I'm not having those, 2-day long periods where I can't function because I just don't see any hope in the world.
Wow, Wendy, the symptom that was the driving factor in you taking this integrative approach to your menstrual health, you removed it from your tracker. You're not even mapping it anymore because it's not a problem, like to the degree. Wendy, this is so huge.
It's amazing.
And how has that, so this is new. You've been dealing with this for 12 years, 10 years, something like that.
Yeah.
So to not have those 1 to 2 days of wanting to die, essentially, I mean, that's what suicidal ideation is. How is that playing out in your life? Did that change anything as far as like the trajectory of your days?
It has definitely changed so much. I'm just more like relaxed and happier overall. But I also don't have to like kind of reinvent my life every month. Um, Especially when I like wasn't aware of how the cycle and the symptoms were kind of relating. It was a lot of like arguments and fights and like not understanding things and being really emotional and not being able to attend events and like not understanding that connection. It was a lot of apologizing afterwards or losing friendships because of it. Or wanting to quit my job and then the job doesn't go well and then you get a poor performance review. So just kind of having those 2 days back changes the whole month because you don't have to, backtrack and then figure out, oh, well, I said this and I have to apologize, or I, wanted to do this, I couldn't do this, now I have to plan at a different time. It's a lot easier to plan around.
Mm. Yeah. And like we say, so often the whole point of this program is to reclaim your life. And you are doing that. And it seems maybe to some people who haven't experienced this, like, oh, 24 to 48 hours of really severe symptoms. That's what we're focusing on here. But when you came to this program, you were saying these symptoms like are moderate for 2 weeks. And those 2 days of really severe symptoms just hit you to rock bottom, to where you're spending the rest of that luteal phase like crawling out, apologizing, trying to put your life back together, even into the menstrual phase. So when your lows come, higher, they're not so low, your recovery time and the damage control and just all of those, that spiral that you're kind of trying to weave yourself out of just it's not there. It's not a problem. Like you really have reclaimed so much time in your life from just suffering through. So many changes here, so many wins. I mean, I'm going to contain myself. I'm super impressed with you, Wendy. Okay, so we started working together in October. That version of yourself. We have it on the chart. We know where Wendy was at that time. What would you say to her now, months later, after what you've been able to achieve here and the changes that you've seen? What would you want that version of yourself to know, or any other people out there who are dealing with the severity of these symptoms like you were?
I would tell my past self that like there is hope, and that it's not who you are, you're not broken. There's lots of things that you can try, there's lots of things that you can do, and you don't have to change every single aspect of your life to achieve results. I think that was a huge barrier for me. I thought, okay, I'm gonna have to change my diet, I'm gonna have to change my exercise routine, I'm gonna have to change how I sleep, where I sleep, what I do every day. And it's complicated, but it's also not. It's a lot more simple than that. You can change a couple things per cycle or one thing per cycle, and you can still see results. And it's manageable. And I think, yeah, there's so much hope and there's so much potential.
Wendy, you said it's manageable. Even just that statement is such a big deal, because how unmanageable it felt for over a decade, and to hear yourself saying that now to your past self, saying that to people who are suffering, that's such a powerful message because it's contradictory to everything we're telling ourselves, everything we believe about ourselves. It really is challenging that mindset. And so, and I'm sure some people out there, and even maybe your past self would have been like, whatever, you know, disbelief,
Hmm.
because you feel so bad, you know. How could anything make you feel better? You're taking the medication, you're cutting out gluten or whatever, like it's not helping. But it is more nuanced, so much more than that. And it comes down to tools as well as education, and those small changes. But such a powerful and inspiring, impactful message, Wendy. You really are an inspiration. Your story is an inspiration to me, to all of the other people out there who are suffering from this, because it just feels so hopeless. And you're here telling us it doesn't have to be that way.
Yep, it doesn't have to be that way. You can make changes. You can see results.
Oh, thank you, Wendy. Thanks so much for sharing your story with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate all the work that you've done with me. So it's been great.
Oh, it's been an honor, Wendy. It's such an honor and such a joy. And yeah, so impressed. All right. Thanks, Wendy.